to inform our audience about Don Hogan Charles. Don Hogan Charles was an American photographer born on September 9th, 1938. He was the first African-American staff photographer hired by a company called New York Times. He attended George Washington High School in Manhattan and went on to study engineering at City College of New York before dropping out to pursue his photography dream. In 1964, after leaving City College, Charles joined the New York Times and remained there for 43 years until he retired in 2007. Before joining the Times, he worked as a freelance photographer. Charles' freelance work appeared in major international publications such as Der Spiegel and Paris Match. His commercial clients included Bill Blass, Oscar de la Renta, and Pan American World Airways. In more than 4 decades at the Times, Mr. Charles photographed a wide range of subjects, from local hangouts to celebrities to fashion to the United Nations. But he may be best remembered for the work that earned him early acclaim: his photographs of key moments and figures of the civil rights era. In 1964, he took a now famous photograph for Ebony magazine of Malcolm X, while Malcolm X was holding a rifle as he peered out of the window of his Queens home. In 1968, for the Times, he photographed Coretta Scott King, her gaze fixed in the distance at the funeral of her husband, the Rev. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The photo appeared in September 1964 issue of Ebony, 5 months before Malcolm's 1965 assassination. Charles, then a freelancer, accompanied Ebony's staffer, Hans Massaquoi, for 3 days as they followed Malcolm throughout New York Times as he recruited followers for his new organization of Afro-American Unity, according to the February 1993 article in Ebony. Mr. Charles resisted being racially pigeonholed, but also considered it a duty to cover the movement, said Chester Higgins, who joined the Times in 1975 as one of its few other black photographers. He felt that his responsibility was to get the story right, that the white reporters and white photographers were very limited. Mr. Higgins, who retired in 2015, said in the telephone interview, "Even in New York, historically black neighborhoods like Harlem, where Mr. Charles lived, were often covered with little nuance," said James Estrin, a longtime staff photographer for the Times and editor of photojournalism Bloglens. His photographs also told the stories of people whose names were making headlines. Charles spent his career photographing a diverse range of New York City scenes with an insightful eye for people of color who were all often overlooked by white photographers of the day. While he's telling the story of New York from the mid-1960s to the 1980s, he's really documenting the black community at the same time. His work presents not just a different vision or a different perspective, but a different vision and voice. At the time, a few people on staff had the slightest idea what a large amount of New York was like, and he brought his reservoir of knowledge and experience of New York City. He's going to give you the bare attitude, but if you look past that, he was something else, said Michelle Aggins, who met Mr. Charles while she was a freelance photographer in Chicago, and he was working in the Times bureau there. The two reconnected when she joined the Times as a staff photographer in 1989. When you're a kid at the New York Times and you needed a big brother, he was all of that, she said. He was definitely the guy who you would have on your team. He wouldn't let other people bully you. Mr. Charles took Miss Aggins under his wing, and she was not alone. I've had many women photographers tell me that he stood up for them, Mr. Estrin said. Sadly, Mr. Charles has passed away. Thank you.